Hello everyone and welcome to Mr. Bravo's workshop. I've decided to do a special video today all about timber floors and how to put them on and the different ways to put them on. I have some flooring I've chopped up from other pieces in front of me. I'm going to try and do my best to explain to you the different ways of putting on floor under different sort of elements, like different situations. So here we have a piece of flooring, and as you know, it comes with backing paper, and the stuff underneath is really quite sticky. So let's get this backing paper off. And as you know, this stuff is really quite sticky, and it's very expensive. I mean, you probably just spent $30 on this stuff. Now, it's very sticky. You go to place it on your model, and I'm just going to use a floor off the HMS Nelson that I unwrapped earlier. And you go to place this on your model, and as you're placing it down, you're realizing, oh, it's not on the right spot. You try and get that up, and I mean, you can kind of get it up, but if you painted this floor, forget it. You're probably not going to get it up. I mean, okay, you could probably try and lightly place it down. And then as you're working it around, I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but it is, especially on bigger ones and bigger ships, very hard to do. Probably not so hard to do on the 1/350 scale, but I do have a couple of ships here that are 1/200. And again, I mean, you got a very expensive, some size fragile piece. The one that's on this ship here is actually quite fragile, very skinny, and you would not dare pull it around like this. Okay, so if you've got small pieces, what do? Well, there's a couple of things we need to talk about before we actually put this on. So what I'll do, I'll just put this aside for 1 minute. I'll put that over here. So there's a few preparations you've got to do before you actually put any stickers on. And I have to do the same on this ship here. This ship is painted. It's got kind of like a dusty look to it. And the best way to prepare that is go down to your local hardware store and get some of this stuff, which is acrylic gloss clear, but make sure it is water-based. You can buy this oil-based, you can buy this a few different ways, but water-based is the one you want to do. So what you want to do, and the other thing the other reason I'm mentioning this is these things, they may be sticky now, but they're renowned for falling off 12 months later with different heat and everything else. And the best way to limit that, there's our acrylic clear in the gloss, and then basically just go around the ship and just paint it on. And this will take any dust off and just prepare the ship and just a very light coat, and that is all ready to go. It's that simple. It's clear, it's water-based, so if you spill it, you can mop it up. And when it dries, I mean, as you can see now, it's quite wet on there. I can see that in the light glistening. So you just let that go, and this pretty much prepares all your surface for sticking on a sticker. You don't need much. Just put it on, just work it around, and that's it. Just keep dragging it around and just put it all the way on. So I'm working on the underneath of this ship, and yeah, I'm just going to work that piece like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to let that go. I do have a phone call, so I'll get that in a second. And the other reason for getting water-based is, I mean, if you've made a mess, I mean, I haven't. I've just, like I said, I need to use this for another ship. And also, by painting this on, if you've left any oils or the stuff that they use to remove the sprues or anything with, this will also seal the part of your ship that you need. I mean, you don't need much at all to be banging this on. And I use quite a very stiff brush. Around where the guns are, you probably just want to stay away just a little bit. Again, we're working upside down, and then just, yeah, spread it around. So what we'll do, I don't know if we'll go any further than there, but yeah, I mean, and if you're not happy with the first coat, go and put a second one on. This is like an undercoat sealer for your floor. And if you don't seal your floor, well, you're kind of asking for a little bit of trouble. The first bit is now starting to dry. That is through here. What we will do, and you can see it bleeding a little bit because I never washed this plastic or anything. I just pulled it straight out of the bag 3 minutes ago because I'm like, as much as I want to muck around with this, I don't. So just, yeah, we'll just let that dry. Very flat, very whatever. And then we'll come back. Okay, it's now been about 10 minutes and we can see now that it has dried completely and I can touch it. It's got a little bit of glistening to it. Now, if you're not sure, there are sections here that I have clearly missed. What we can do, we can always go back in, get a little bit more. And I really like this stuff other than the oil one because you can just go in. I mean, the brush is now partly dried as well. But if you're not sure whether this is stuck down properly, whatever, it goes on very good the next time around. Because now it's sort of sticking to itself. So it's very easy to go on. You don't need much. So after this one here, I'll re-wash the brush. And being water-based, it's very easy to clean it off. All the way to the edge. Now, if you've got flooring that's got bits and pieces that are sticking out, don't go over it just because they'll glow. So just go up to it and around it and just stay a few mil away from where you know your floor is going to go. But if your floor is basically going to go all the way through and bits and pieces are going to pop up, well, again, just work your brush around them and that's it. Because this is really only to prepare your floor to stick. And that's it. I mean, you'd be disappointed you spend all that work into a big model and then your floor gives way 12 months later or it's just no good. So what we'll do, I'll let that go off for another 10 minutes and I'll come back. And in the meantime, I'll go clean my brush. So while we're waiting, I've just cleaned the brush out. The beauty of it being water-based, you just rinse it straight off and yeah, I'll dry the brush now, put it away, it's good to go for the next one. You can buy this stuff in different size tins. This is a 250ml. You can get one, I think, slightly smaller, but money-wise, I mean, this costs about $20 and this would last nearly all the models I have here. I got quite a few here, so it would more than do enough. Okay, I'm back. It's probably now been another 10-15 minutes. As you can see there, it's quite now dry and whatever you stick to this now has got no chance at all of coming off. This is basically just to prepare the plastics to keep your floor and all your hard work down for a very long time. So we've got our piece of plastic our piece of floor we put aside before. And you know, you could probably place it and this is all very well on a small piece, but on a big piece, sticking this off, it just seems to lessen it just a little bit and it gives you a little bit of time to place down. If you put it back on the bare plastic, it wants to grip, like it now wants to really take off. On here, I've got a little bit of movement in it. So I can now put it on and readjust it to some degree without it being too just touching it and taking off. So, and again, it doesn't matter how many times I do that. It just wants to stick. So over here, like it's buying me some time. So I could probably place that there and go, oh, you know, it's a little bit crooked. I can now spin that around a little bit. It's going to give me some movement to place that down and go, yep, okay, I'm happy with that, and send him home. Even if you got it all the way home, this will allow you to lift it a little bit. So I've just placed that all the way home. I can now lift that end corner, pick it up, and I can still readjust that sticker, and it's still going to be in one good piece. Now, that's all very well and good for most pieces. So I'm going to leave this one now. We're going to call this one done, right? The other thing I did discover by pure accident If you've got small stuff to put on, let's get this one ready. And I'll get the backing off it. I always had quite a hard time getting the backing off, but for the sake of this video, that's how I do it. I peel it up to get it off. And now we know this is a brand new fresh one. And you might be thinking, oh, but you made that other one soft. And there it is. There's a paper that just will not nick off from my hands. And we pick it up and we try and put it on a section like this, and it really wants to go and stick. And again, on here, it's quite alright. It's got some give in it. Now, you see me before trying to get this one up. After a little while, you're not going to get this up. This stuff takes a little while to go off. Yeah, and if you've got a big giant sticker, something that's awkward like that, it's very hard to use. Now, sometimes if you've got a small sticker and you're just not too sure how it's going to go on, that's right. Get a bit of this stuff, put it on, just like that, and it'll buy you some time to move it around. Not by much, but you'll get some movement out of it. And again, you can pick it up and move it around, and it's still going to maintain its stickiness. I did this by mistake. I was gluing something down, and I realised, hang on, the sticker's there, and I'm like, oh, I can move it with this stuff. So again, you just get a little bit of movement. You wouldn't be able to do that on a plastic piece, where you can just pick it up and slide it around and just, oh, it's got to go that way a little bit or that way a little bit. You just can't do that with a normal sticker on normal plastic. And again, once that's nailed down and you've adjusted it, put him home, the glue will go off, this stuff will go off, and again, you'll be home, right? Now, there's a couple other bits and pieces you can do. I have 4 different ways, so there's 2 down. We need to remove another piece of plastic. And again, this one is now ready to come off. We'll just flip that up and remove that plastic. So another brand new floor. And you're a new modeler, and you're like, well, I don't really know how to use this stuff. What you can do is you can put this to one side for a second, and I want to show you something. Grab yourself your good old margarine lid. Get yourself some ordinary wood glue. It's got to be wood glue though. It doesn't matter if it's interior, exterior. Get some, plonk it on the desk, just like that. I mean, that's way too much for what we need. Get yourself a nice little brush, and you can just spread that out a little bit and say, right, I now want this sticker to go, let's call it just here. So again, if you're going to go around stuff, you would not actually paint that. This is also water-based, so if you do make a spillage or whatever, you can get it off. So there's where I want my sticker, and I know this is going to be a hard sticker to place, so this is going to buy me 5 minutes. It's not watered down, it's not anything. It's straight out of the can or out of the plastic tub, whichever way you want to put it. And there it is, still on the brush. So we get our sticker, here it is, and it's still very sticky. Give it back. Now, again, you want to place the sticker and you're like, oh, I'm not too sure, I need a bit extra time. You just put the sticker, wiggle it around, and yeah, you can move it. I wouldn't do this without this stuff underneath though, without the acrylic gloss underneath. Between this stuff and the acrylic, they kind of bond to each other. And this will allow you to move your sticker every single time. Not a problem in the world. Now, this is great for 1/350 size stickers because this buys you very, very plenty of time. You don't need much, and it's just, you can wipe out the excess off. I mean, I went overboard putting that on, but if I had bits and pieces to go around, I just would go around the brush This is why I don't use a real big brush, but I also use this brush, which I've explained before. You can put on in a line, or you can drag this one out. You can even drag this one even in a close line. It doesn't really matter. So that is the third way of putting on a timber floor, and it's already starting to go off there now. This will be a little more pliable, a little more movable for a couple more minutes yet. There it is. And again, when it goes off. So there's one last one if you're doing big ships. Again, if you're going to do the big timbers, I would always do this on your plastic, right? This is going to guarantee that your stickers or your stickered floor do not lift. So the last one is a little different. So you've got a 1 to 200 scale model and you've got a very big piece of plastic. If you've seen any of my videos, I've got a 1/200 Titanic, and I've got a Japanese 1/200 ship here as well. Now, you've got big pieces of floor. You may or may not be confident in this. This is quite okay as well. I mean, there's another way. So, I want to mention this stuff here. This is a kind of a paper, but it does not tear. It will not tear, right? It doesn't matter what you do. It is quite thin. Where's the micrometer? Let's push it. So push it dead hard. It's minus there. We want to measure it. We have not even 0.1 of a mil. It is thin. It is so thin you can see almost all the way through it. And especially when you wet it, it's very thin. So we're going to get our scissors and cut a piece of this stuff off. And this is the preferred way on big pieces. Even big pieces on 1/350 ships, this is the preferred way as well. So if you've got your paper, now it cannot be anything that tears like this. It can't be nothing like that. It has to be a very good sturdy paper and very, very thin. What this paper actually is you've seen me, I wear glasses. These are my glass cleaning stuff, and worked out very earlier on that this stuff is really good for doing exactly what we're doing. So there's a piece of our cloth paper, tissue paper, whatever you want to call it. We'll get the next sticker off. Here is the next piece of plastic coming off. Thank you very much. So what I want you to do with this sticker is quite simply put it down and just glue it straight onto there like that. That's it. It's done. Nice and easy. And then what you can do is, if you've got intricate pieces, what I want you to do, I might even zoom in on this a little bit. So we'll go stay there. I'm going to use the big lens. And what you want to do now is, with your sharp knife, is you just want to go around and you just want to very carefully chop that back out. It's quite easy to do. This stuff is not real thick. It cuts extremely easy. It does not tear. And I just follow the timber, and it just basically wants to cut. It just wants to cut there, like that. Might have done the corners there. So what you end up with is all your sticky stuff now gone. Now, I highly recommend this on the bigger stuff. And now this is actually, I use each one of those different ways depending on what I want to do. And again, anything going to clean up. Now, what do you want to do now? So you've just now rendered all your sticky stuff useless. So we're going to get our brush and we're going to bring back our glue unwatered down. Spread it out just like we did before. Get a nice amount on the brush. We're just going to paint that straight on to our piece. Just like that. And that's it. That's all you're going to do. This stuff, wood glue, dries harder than wood. I mean, when you put wood glue on wood glue, it's gonna go off. Then, so you do all your sticker piece. And where you prepared your floor, sorry about that, I knocked the camera. I'll just move that out the way. So where you prepared the floor, and you're going to say, right, I now need that piece to come in, and we need to go here. So we're going to go around all the bollards and bits and pieces, and yeah, just kind of put it all on, and you're going to kind of spread it out a bit. You don't want it on thick, just like that. And you can, by the time you do your floor, this takes 3 minutes to put on. That's it. And again, it's water-based. You get it on the edge or in a hole somewhere, you can wash it straight off. Then you grab your floor, just like that. You go to place it, just like you normally would. You could probably buckle it in the middle to place it down, to work out, nah, this is exactly where I want it. And then bang, you can put it down. You still have some movement in there to turn this around. Like that. You will get this floor on every single time without a problem. I kind of like this method because it kind of makes it a bit thicker than what it actually is. It's not thicker by much, but it gives it depth. So once you have your sticker and you adjust it, like we can say, right, let's go over to that hole there. Let's line up all these holes together. Bang. You cannot do that with the sticker that goes dead onto plastic. So what we'll do now is I have these 4 pieces on, and I've got to glue my own ship up. So what we'll do now is I'll let this go overnight, and I'll come back in the morning and we'll see exactly how it is, and we'll try and pull these off and see how well they're stuck. So I'll come back in a few hours. Good morning everyone, and welcome back. It has been almost 12 hours later, and now we're going to see how this thing went. Before I go any further, I forgot to put my brush away last night, and I'm going to put this in thinners and see what this does. So let's put that aside for a minute. So I've just finished rewatching all the episodes to catch up exactly where we were. And before we go any further, I put my brush into some airbrush thinners, and apart from the fact it's got a little bit of glue on there, which I can just take that off, the brush is now good again. I will work that brush a couple more times just to dissolve all that glue, and you can see that's back to a very nice brush. So yeah, you can undo this stuff even if you forget it. Okay. Now, let's get back to what we were talking about earlier. So here's our 4 test pieces, and I did write them down. So this one here was just its natural sticker on its own onto the prepared floor. This one here I put down using some ultra thin to give me a little bit of movement, and it does work rather well, this one, if you're doing small pieces and that it just, hard to move. The top one was just the wood glue on the original piece, and my favorite, and it just looks different. It's got depth to it. It's just, if you want a really nice looking timber floor, this is your guy. It's a little more work, but it's very good. So this one is what I used with the backing paper yesterday. Though I'm going to do something which no one ever does, which is, how hard is it to get these stickers off the very next day? Let's try and use our nail first. Okay. Yeah, there's a possibility that can come up. Yeah, it's still quite stuck. I should have put probably a test piece on the glue on the unpainted stuff. It's still kind of sticky. It can still lift. So this one was done with the ultra thin. And will it re-glue back down again? Yes, it will. So that's the ultra thin, quite good. The top one was just its sticky stuff on its own. Let's see how well it did. Okay, it will pull up as well. Still sticky. Yeah, kind of. It feels a little less though, to be honest. It's not quite as much. So, yeah, just Will it work? Absolutely to work. I mean, you're not supposed to peel these up. I mean, who does that? I mean, we're doing this as a test. So, yeah, that one can pull up. And I would suggest that after you've done that and lifted it, that you would have to use some glue now to re-glue it. This one was done with the ultra thin. And you can see behind there, it's trying to pull the glue up. So it's stuck down rather good. And can you re-glue it? Yeah. You can. Yeah, it's actually restuck again. This one I would say is kind of failed, and to re-glue that, you would have to use some more glue. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's lost nearly everything now. And this one, well, actually, I'm having a hard time getting it back up. That corner's already lifted, so I can lift it from there, but I couldn't actually lift it from there. Let's lift this one a couple of times. Yeah, it's still got stickiness. It's still there. So this one over here, we use just wood glue on the actual sticker itself. Let's see how well we went. As I suspected, I don't think it's going to come up. Oh, no, I got a little tiny corner. Let's see what's happening here. So what's happening here, behind it, it's trying to pull the whole lot up. Quite good. It was well stuck down. And can you still re-stick it? Yes, you can. Let's pull it up for the next time. Pull it up the next time, and yeah, I mean, that was very hard to grab, and it still works, and stuck down rather well. So far, all three of those have worked and have stuck down. I mean, you wouldn't normally re-pull your floor back up the next day, so if you've ever wondered, this is what happens. And let's do that one again. Yeah, it's still got quite a lot of stickiness to it. So it's not coming off. And then bang, you can bang it back down. It was quite hard to get underneath. My favorite over here, let's see how we went. Okay, so I'm lifting, and I'm probably lifting the floor off the paper. Let's try and get one with the floor as well. Here we go. We've got the floor there. Yeah, you can hear it ripping. It's actually taken everything off. So it's taken the acrylic gloss off, the whole lot. It all really stuck down. And there's no stickiness left because we peeled it all the way back to bare plastic. So that is not going to re-stick without glue. And again, this is kind of like my favorite because I can't explain to you the depth that it kind of gives it. And on big pieces, yeah, I mean, let's pull that right off. Let's have a look. See, it's actually lifted absolutely everything. So there's our paper. You can use cotton paper. You can use anything with this. This is a really, really good way of getting these stickers down. I mean, again, this has actually ripped the acrylic gloss off to try and get this off. It was stuck down there. So, yeah, this is a really good way if you're doing a really big model and that's what you want to do. One of these corners I had actually lifted with the paper. Let's try that. Yeah. I mean, that paper is now, yeah, it's not sticky, but guess what? That is still 100% sticky. Let's put that on there. It's lost some of its stickiness. The point of this is, if you just spent $30 on putting a floor on and you wake up the next morning, you decide, oh man, I kind of screwed that up. Is it salvageable? Absolutely. You can just get another piece of paper and redo this all over again. This is not ruin this floor. But if you've got some delicate floor and you're trying to take this stuff off after you put it on, it's completely ruined. So there we have my little tutorial on the timber floors. Sorry I had to use such small pieces, but to explain this properly, and I did know yesterday I was going to be hacking away at these the next morning, and I did not want to be doing that at the ship. As a matter of fact, I don't see anyone doing that on any of their own ships, hacking the floor back off the next day. This is a good way to see. I would still most definitely put the acrylic gloss on every single time in the water base. It just gives the surface a really good clean surface to stick to, and basically seals it off. Seals off your plastic, ready to go. Anyway, I hope you liked my tutorial on the wooden floors at Mr. Bravo's workshop. I've enjoyed showing you, and I hope we both learned something with all this flooring. There is 4 different ways of doing it. You can use it any which way you like. You don't have to do the M way. This way works rather well. I do like the Tamiya glue underneath on small stuff, such as the other day I did some boats and stuff. I put the floor on there, and once the floor was on, I was able to move it around and just position exactly where I wanted it without worrying about it sticking too much. That's why I like that way the best on the small stuff. This stuff here, you can just glue it down, but as you can see, it's kind of not the best the next day. So yeah, the 2 ways are definitely with the wood glue. They're kind of like your probably best preferred ways, unless you're doing the small stuff. Just on its own, I'm going to call that kind of like a failure. Yeah, all right, it was hard to get up, but it's not real tacky the next day. Whereas these, even now, I'm going to have trouble trying to get that up. Yeah, I can get that up, but once you pulled any floor off, once you pulled any floor up, you would re-glue it anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. I've decided to show you this video because I'm about to put my floor on. I've watched quite a few videos where there's some failures and there's some pretty good stuff going on as well. And this is just my take on it. You don't have to agree to it. You don't have to like it. This is just, I'm out there putting it out there for someone who's new and wants to know how to do it. Okay, we're going to call it a day here, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.